My name is Ralph. I pastor a church here in Spain. It's called the Olive Branch Christian Fellowship. The area in Spain is Murcia, like a county, but it's a close town where we live is Matheron. I was born in Bridgewater in Somerset. I've got an older sister. She's about 18 months older than me. My mother and father, that was our family unit. I was brought up in the Salvation Army. I'm a third generation Salvationist, and brought up in a Christian family all my life until I was about 15. And then I decided to join the Merchant Navy, and I went away from the Lord. And to fast forward it, I've got to really go about 35 years. You could say it was a Moses experience in the wilderness. And I came, in that period, I got married and had 2 sons. And my work was working with very disturbed children. I was a residential social worker for pretty much most of my life. And then I started to feel that I wanted to do something different, and got caught up with the 90s of the Filofax and get rich quick, and got myself into a lot of debt, got very depressed, got into financial problems, I became ill, and it snowballed. I got down and in fact I felt very suicidal, but I didn't want to leave my wife with the burden of all my debts and one thing and another. So I kept going. And but God had a plan for me. I started playing bridge. I've always enjoyed card games and things like that, especially being at sea, and joined this bridge club. And of course God had a plan because it was next to a church. And the minister came over one evening while we were playing bridge and invited us to come to this church on the weekend. It was called it a mulled wine and gatto party, and I must admit that I didn't want to go, but I was very persuaded by the rest of the group that I should come. I was very surprised, being brought up in the Salvation Army. This was a very different first of all, the music. It was like a group playing, and I really enjoyed the group. It was very similar to secular music, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Being brought up with brass band and songsters, it was certainly different. And then they brought on the guest speaker. His name was J. John. He's a very well-known evangelist in England, and he's credited to bringing the 10 Commandments up to the 21st century. And he started talking about, well, in fact, he's a Greek Cypriot, a very short man. He came on and started telling jokes. Well, I've never heard any jokes in the Salvation Army, but very funny man. And then he started talking about being born again. I didn't understand that. I thought it was a very Americanized born again. And he said, how would you look about looking at your life and reflection of your life, looking back, and if it was on a video or on the screen or on the television? And he said, just sit down and reflect about that. What was your life? And I must admit, my life was in a bit of a mess at that time. And so my ears pricked up to listen to what he had to say. And I guess at that time I looked back on my life and thinking I'd made a mess of things, and certainly gone away from the Lord and how I was brought up. And then he said, what if all the people you know, friends and family, came in to watch what you'd been up to in your life? And I must admit, I won't say it brought tears in my eyes, but almost a fear came over me, and thinking, oh, I couldn't even repeat the things that I got up to, especially in my Navy days, and didn't really want that. And he said, but we can wipe the slate clean. And I listened intensely to what he had to say, and he said, if you come into Jesus' presence and know that he died on the cross for you, and that he would wipe your slate clean. You could be born again and start your life again. And I thought, I'm here, nearly 50, and I made a mess of my life, and here he was saying, you could start your life again. And I must admit, he said, just pray the sinner's prayer with me. And he said, just take it inwardly in your mind and your heart set. And but don't go out of this room tonight without telling someone that you've made that commitment. And I must admit, I listened intensely with the sinner's prayer, and I took it on board, and went up to him after the meeting finished, and I shook his hand and I said, I prayed that prayer. And he said, you're born again, and this is your life. You're going to start again. Things are completely changed in my life, and God made it possible to wipe out my debts. It's a long story, so I won't go into that. But it made it possible for me to give up my job and go to Bible college for full-time for 2 years. I came on holiday to Spain, and I felt this is where I would want to come, to ministry. And I felt that a lot of people would come to their end of their lives in terms of retirement and come up to Spain, come to live here, and it would be their new life, their dream. But the cold reality of that dreams are usually best left as a dream. And I felt that this was the last post, that it was the last place that people were going to either a lost eternity or going to heaven. And I felt a calling to come here. And so I went to the Bible college for 2 years. I came back here, and within 2 weeks I'd met a couple of people, and we set the Olive Branch Christian Fellowship in motion. And we came here purposely to tell people about Jesus before it was too late. And it went very well. Within 14 months, we'd filled every chair in the golf club, and that really worked out well. They let us there free, and we filled that up. And in fact, we got too popular there, and they'd asked us to move on. Just to conclude, God is favouring us. People are coming to the church. We've just been given a new venue for us to hold church, a new Colchester community. What is it called? It's Culture Centre, and we're looking forward to the future for that.